Hi, I'm Mike,
And I'm Sam.
and this is Wise Words with Dodo Birds. Bilbo's an average dude, and he's invincible. He can fight goblins and trolls and, off a dragon and,
Oh, yeah.
they think you're stupid.
Yeah.
They think you're stupid. They gotta spoon feed you a little bit. The thing is, though, is that they had 9 hours to fill with the shortest book.
They didn't, though, right? Isn't that kind of a part of the point you're making?
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
have to do this.
They didn't need to fill
Why'd
that
you
time.
do this?
Yeah. This looks worse, and it costed you more money.
How incompetent Smaug is. They kill him within the first 10 minutes
Well, and
of the third movie. If we would have saw 100 people try to kill him and him just being like, no, and then like just eat their kids. Alfred. We get Alfred scenes, dude.
Oh,
Do you know
yeah.
Do you know
That was the biggest mistake in all of the movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Dodo Birds. We are back with episode 38. We are fulfilling our promise of talking about the Lord of the Rings franchise a little bit more. Now talking about The Hobbit. We are excited to talk about the Lord of the Rings franchise. Sorry if that wasn't the most exciting episode. It's hard to be comedic in just with something that you love so much. Like there's no jokes to be made about a very serious and well executed franchise. But I have a feeling with this one, I've got a few more.
Plus, Lord of the Rings is a great thing to, like, find the bad shit.
Yeah,
You
it was
know,
hard
it's
to do.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, okay, well, how long do you got? Because we spent most of that episode talking it up. Not even, we couldn't even find that many bad things. So
Yeah, we had to exercise to find them, but our opinions probably very much differ between The Hobbit because it has a special place in your heart, right?
Well, not really. Very much differ. You've said that a couple times now in private conversation. I would say that's not exactly it. They're different because I can find good things about them, especially like I was said before. I like the first one.
Yeah.
Like I was just happy like to be back in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like lifted off my feet with the first one.
I think the first one is the best one for sure.
Mhm.
Like,
But you want to get into the nit and grit of it. Yeah, not nearly as good as Lord of the Rings, and I have a lot of reasons for that.
it's hard to compare them to, like, if you compare something that's a nearly perfect franchise, anything other than that, it's really
Yeah.
tough. But my thoughts on The Hobbit, and I'll take a minute to do it here. My thoughts on The Hobbit they are kind of a bastardization of the Lord of the Rings franchise. I feel like Lord of the Rings would be stronger without it. Not only because it's compared to such a high bar, but the story is lacking. You don't care about the characters at all. They took the shortest book and made it the longest movies ever. I feel like it could have been done in one good 3.5 hour movie. Would have had good pacing. Everything that is in the books would have been there. Would have been very faithful. After the first movie, they go entirely off of the book. They're just literally making shit up. All the emotional stuff that they want to add in for the characters, none of it matters at all. Fake love interests. There's no danger ever. These characters are fucking immortal. like, that's it. But I think I got some.
And you know what? Maybe the minute timer wasn't a great idea because I bet you could go even more.
I could go 5 more.
Yeah.
But that gives me a good.
That's a good start.
Good preface.
Yeah, and I had little problems with it even. Like you didn't even say any of like the and maybe my shit's not warranted, but I think it is.
Let's hear it.
Well, okay, so like I'll start with one little one. Orlando Bloom's eyes. They didn't look like that in Lord of the Rings. Why do they look like that in The Hobbit? You didn't have to do that. You didn't.
Yeah.
That's just one little start, and it bothered me for both the second and the third
And
movie.
I know the technical reason why it looks like that. Like, So where do we want to start with this?
Yeah, well, what was like one of your biggest ones? Like, what's like your like? I know you said a lot, like the book, which Mary has read the book, right? So you know a lot about it.
I read it
You
too.
read it too as a kid, or was it more
I
recent?
just recently read it again.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like I just got through it a couple
You
weeks
did
ago.
say you were going to.
Yep.
Yeah. So you did get around to that, and so was it as different as like Mary was saying, and as
Oh, it's not even the same
it's
at
not
all.
even the same.
Like it's fan fiction. Like
the 3 movies, right?
yeah, for the amount of fan fiction, I'm surprised they don't like have Gollum like fuck Bilbo or something.
So when you get into that, what was like the biggest one? What was the biggest one from the book that like I'm sorry, from the movies that they added that the book didn't have and that you
I'm not
thought
one
was
of
a
those.
waste?
I'm not one of those like purists that's like if it's
Sure.
not like the book, then it's not good. The only reason that argument holds for this particular thing is that they added a lot of additional content that didn't end up working. Like most of it. Honestly, like you're diverting entirely off the story after the first film. To give you a reference, I believe maybe these numbers aren't correct, but The Hobbit, I believe, is like 18,000 word or I mean the first book, Fellowship of the Ring, is like 18,000 words.
Okay.
Or 180, whatever. I know that The Hobbit is half as many words.
As the first Lord of the Rings book.
Yeah, and it felt very complete. Fellowship of the
Sure.
Ring felt very, very complete.
Yeah.
Like they got everything they needed to say. So because I have a better way of summing this up. For a movie or like a story about greed, they did the greediest thing possible and milked a franchise that did not need to milk. She's been dry. Like you're hurting
about to say,
her.
yeah, that's a point you've made before was like, why do it in 3?
Like it was all studio meddling for greed to be like, let's make it a trilogy because then people will see 3 of them. It didn't need to be that way at all. And that's the whole moral of the story that they're trying to tell. And you don't get that at all. In the book, that's what it's about, is the corruption of greed.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Smaug's whole character arc.
Right.
Is that he's just fucking cracked out on riches and status and being a legend. None of that is really shown to you at all. You're just like, he likes gold. Mean.
There were 3 things that I heard got like thrown into the movies. I'll just ramble off the 3 that I know real quick that people were just one people kind of liked. And then these other 2 things not so much. One was Legolas himself. I don't think he was even in The Hobbit. Yeah, he's not even supposed to be there, right?
Yeah.
That was one thing that people were like, why did you do that? You know, I know you were trying to fan service, but like as fans, we didn't really care. We didn't really want him there. The second one, or the one that I know that people liked was what's it called? Azog.
Did they like it?
I think more so than like having somebody like in the sense of it created that you and I talked about it a little bit, that sort of rivalry, that sense of suspense for movies. I get it. And so I think that was
On
better
paper.
received. I think it was better received than other things. Again, stretching it out so thin though. Stretching out one movie, because there was this movie that like Ian grew up with, a Hobbit cartoon movie, where like dragon sickness and stuff like that. That's not part of it.
Yeah.
There's no corrupted dwarves. You know,
Yeah.
it's about, and again, there's no Battle of the 5 Armies. You know, there's
Battle
no,
of the 5 Armies is in it.
Is it?
Yeah.
In the old cartoon.
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What? How?
Bilbo basically just sleeps through like everybody fighting over rights to the gold. And in Tolkien's writing, he's just like, I don't understand war. It's so stupid. Like the point was that all the characters know this is dumb, but none of them want to back down because they really just brush past it. Like Bilbo's just kind of not really around.
Right.
And
it's all from his perspective, right?
Yeah, we forget that in the movies. The Hobbit
Yeah.
is supposed to be from the Hobbit's perspective.
which he's at least in it most of the time, right?
Yeah. Is he?
Well, there are parts where there's a lot of parts that are definitely like just where he's just a floater. He's in it, but he's not really in it.
Yeah.
So it is easy to forget, but he's there.
Yeah. Technically.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah. I mean, after the first movie, it's just such a wild turn from the lore. And the reason is it literally like, I know that they didn't do this, but it's literally like they asked ChatGPT to write like what do people like in movies? Like they like romance, they like tension, they like action
It's
scenes.
not even. I don't even think you have to blame it on something like that. It could just be a room full of people saying that same thing. Well, what do people like in movies? Because Chat GPT, I don't think was a thing yet. But
no, I'm saying
you
missed the metaphor.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's so generic. It's
I was saying it's not quite that bad. Because it's as simple as a bunch of people like it's never hard to be like, what do people like in movies? Action, rivalry, romance, all that shit. Like,
everything that we get is so shallow and base level. It seems pandering. It's fan service at its absolute wildest. Like
a lot of CG too.
I haven't even gotten there yet.
But
like,
okay, all right.
like it's the story that really just bugs me. I mean, the visuals suck too, but if there was sucky visuals and a good story, be fine. There are plenty of cult classics that do well with kind of subpar visuals. It's the story. Like, you don't give a shit about the 13 dwarfs. You don't give a fuck about them.
Not really.
Can you name 5? Can you name 5 of the 13?
Oh, Thorin.
Okay.
His nephews Keely and Feely.
Okay.
Keely and Philly? I don't know.
Keely and Feely.
One of them's named Ori.
Yep.
What's the one? Gloin. He's Gimli's dad is in there.
That's 5. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But,
what's Gloin's deal?
They didn't give you much. On that. Yeah. But maybe that was on purpose. Then again, they brought Legolas into it, and it's like, why not do a different character who's connected to an old Lord of the Rings character?
The thing is,
why not flesh him out a little bit more?
It is hard to flesh out 13 characters. Yeah, however, we had 9 in the Fellowship.
Yeah.
We have 15 in this one. The difference is not massive, but we didn't even get attempts at character building at all. At all.
We didn't get... Not except for Thorin. He was the only one.
Yeah. And the fact that they just made him, standardized medieval hot guy.
Yeah.
I have big problems with. The King of the Dwarfs looks like a fucking dude who plays in like a folk band. Like,
okay.
He looks like a fucking rock DJ.
That's fair.
I don't see that being the depiction, but that's fine. That's a.
I don't really have a lot of other comparisons. I mean, aside from the other dwarves, which I guess he looked a little more Hollywood than the other ones.
Yeah.
I didn't really think too much about it, though.
Off the bat,
his nephews also looked very, very much the same. They're like, these are the hot guy dwarves.
Soy boys.
Yeah. Soy boys.
Right off the bat, I have a problem with the dwarfs. And I think a lot of it boils down to that because right off the bat, they're kind of like Disney cartoony. Like nothing is being taken real seriously.
Sure.
Like the tone right off the bat is that you don't take these guys seriously. It's that they,
I kind of liked that. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed the...
But like...
Again, that was in the first movie, and that was right in the beginning, and I was feeling it.
They could have even turned it back. They could have made them very serious after that. Because
they did right when Thorin showed up.
Not really.
I mean, the tone changed for sure.
Technically,
from a movie making
on paper, it changed.
No,
yeah.
On screen it changed.
I guess, like.
I mean, I'm just saying that's what I saw. It was like this goofy, wacky party, and then as soon as he knocked on the door, it was like, ooh. That was what I remember.
Technically, yeah. Like, do you really feel it though? Going
when
forward?
I watched it 10 years ago, and when I first watched it, and the many times after that, yeah. Nowadays, no, because I've seen it a million times. But you know,
Yeah. I mean, they said it was for kids, even though the third one's rated R for some reason.
um,
But
is it really? No, it shouldn't be.
yeah.
If so, we got robbed on the nephew kill where he holds him up. If that movie's rated R, dude, slash that throat, shake it up. If you're gonna make it rated R, go rated R with the kill.
But no, it's for kids. They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, the dwarfs,
Yeah.
like the fact that they're just silly slapstick fat little buffoons, like oopie
Yeah.
doopie. But like in the
Are
book,
they not like that?
in the book, there are men that know they're about to
Right.
potentially lose their lives. This is the most important thing that they've ever done.
Uh-huh.
Every breath that they've taken.
They did make that whole thing comical when they gave Bilbo the contract.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Oh yeah, you could die. Like, this is going to be fun, man. Like, you just make sure you know."
Like the whole time, they could have not given them much speaking lines, but made it that they're just like worried. And they try that. Like, "Oh, I'm worried. I said it, so I am. Believe me."
Yeah, I'll grant you that though. That especially in the moment, because again, I'll say how I saw it. When Thorin shows up, it did feel very serious for a minute or two, especially because when Gandalf gets all defensive about bringing Bilbo along. Like, I honestly felt the serious, but then they did go right back into funny. They took away that like.
And the serious moment feels shallowly serious.
I'll grant you
They're
that.
telling you to like, oh, it's serious time.
Yeah.
It's like a card went up.
And it didn't last. It did not last very long.
Yeah. Like the franchise suffers from not knowing what it is. Like, when are we silly? When is it action? When is it romance? When is it drama? When is it adventure? Why not all of it? They say. Like, and they don't execute any of it like properly. It's so like baseline. Yeah, the main characters. I mean, Martin Freeman is great as Bilbo.
Mhm.
I really have nothing bad to say.
He's a big part of why.
He holds it together.
Yeah.
If he would have gotten more scenes throughout the trilogy, I think that we'd have a lot less gripes. I would have a lot less gripes. It's The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'm not being unreasonable.
Yeah, it's not
Like-
the dwarves.
Like, and if you're spending time on the dwarfs, how come I don't know anything about them? Nothing. I don't know anything about them. Besides Thorin.
I'll grant you that. To this day, I don't know that much about them, and not even him, really.
With the Fellowship of the Ring, their little lore exposition dump in the beginning, 8 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
The Hobbits, 15 minutes. And I felt like I knew less.
Twice as long, less info.
Yeah.
But also, when you're talking about characters, like, how much do we know about Legolas and Gimli?
You don't need to, but we know their deal. I don't know their shtick. I don't know their personality.
Right.
Like, Gimli, I know his personality. And it comes across quickly.
I guess that's fair, especially with him.
Aragorn, he doesn't talk much. He's
Straight up. No, the most of the Fellowship is very well fleshed out.
it sells the characters. You don't have to go into they tell you, not show you in
Yeah.
The Hobbit. That's
Yeah,
my problem. Is like they're like,
they do.
he's the goofy one. See? Goofy goof. Like, but in Aragorn, he's like, oh, he's the quiet one. Because he doesn't talk much.
Well, and
Like, or
again,
he's the-
I shouldn't have mentioned even to the Fellowship, because like I was mostly just thinking about Legolas and Gimli and how like you don't really know their deal, but you do know at least Gimli. You know his personality.
Yeah.
And when I really think about that with the other dwarves, it's like they're all so goofy. And that's the only time any of them actually shine too. Like otherwise, they're just a bunch of guys. I mean, I felt like what's the older one, Balin?
Yeah.
He was a little bit more so. Him and the big bald guy, I think Dwalin. I don't know.
Balin was supposed to be the secondary main.
Yeah, he was a big character. in
He's
the
like
book
the
that I
hand
heard.
of Thorin. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be his right-hand man.
And they didn't do that well of a job, but he felt a little bit more like a character than most of the other dwarves.
He did. But like, even if you would have made one of the dwarves just a quick little scene of him whittling birds or crafting something, or, he, like, give them a personality, give them something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you could have done it, you reasonably could have done it. And when you see them, you just want consistent, like when you set, when you show who they are, keep that consistency throughout the entire trilogy. And then that's how you make a person that I feel like I know what there is. Like Gimli never cries.
Of course.
Like Gimli's the same the whole time. You
Yeah.
know his deal. Like
I'm pretty sure he's like 123 years old too.
but the dwarfs, they try to like, slapstick goofy.
It's
and then,
all that's.
and then there were
100% granting you that that's pretty much all they are.
and then
in
we're
The Hobbit.
serious, and then but like
There's not that much serious. Even the few serious moments are spent mostly on Thorin.
yeah.
Possibly what's Balin
Mm-hmm.
Dwalin there in that flashback. But all the real serious stuff, the very few, it's and actually that's what Azog feels like. Feels like that story doesn't even they threw it in there because they didn't have anything else or something.
It's like in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the hardest part was what do we cut?
Yeah.
It can't be 6 hours. What do we cut?
Yeah.
In The Hobbit, it's like, what can we fill this with? It's all fluff.
Yeah.
We've talked about writing fluff before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all fluff. Like it's
Especially
35% content.
The most forced felt thing to me in that was one thing you mentioned was the relationship between the elf and the dwarf. It felt stupid.
They knew each other for 2 days.
Especially like how old is she supposed to be? Like 1,000 or something? Like
Yeah.
Legolas, 2,000 years
Never
old?
seen a little man.
Yeah,
It's
now
like-
suddenly you're swept off your feet by this guy?
They met once before falling in love.
Yeah.
For like 15 minutes. And they didn't even get sucked off. Like
no one even got sucked off. Come on.
Like you're telling me you're leaving your homeland to help a guy you just met? That's crazy, man.
And like again, in the whole you're 1,000, 2,000 years old. You telling me you've lived that long and you haven't learned that that's stupid?
And you're acting like a naive 15-year-old.
15-year-old, yes.
Like, I met a guy and he's great, Dad.
Yes.
I don't care. I love him.
It would have been much more acceptable if an elf wasn't involved. I know that sounds racist, but
Well,
it's mostly a longevity thing to me. Logically, it makes no sense.
There's ways you could have fixed that. Make us care about that. Maybe
if he was chasing her, if she was like, fuck that guy, I'll kill you if you keep following me. If that was her attitude and he was like this beautiful elf that I just am
she's
so
the most
hard
beautiful
for. Yeah.
thing I've ever seen.
Which there was an element of that.
Yeah.
But they didn't lay that on thick enough, I guess. I don't know. And it's just the whole thing still would have felt forced. I don't know.
I think there's a way that you could have done it. Either one of them have heard about each other due to their family lineage. Like,
it would have been a better story.
and so when they finally meet, they're like, no, I already know who you are. And then have a scene where it's like, well, lives up to his tale or, like whatever.
I'm just looking at it from again, I'm coming back to like the perspective of the oldest he could be, because he wasn't around when the dragon attacked the first time. So the oldest he could be is 60 years old.
And he's not even related to Thorin. So it doesn't really make sense.
And again, I could totally see him like seeing this elven, princess, which she's not a princess, but you know what I mean? To him, I could see that angle of it. Again, still would feel forced, but that one would have felt more believable than, no, I'm leaving the woodland realm for this dirty, smelly dwarf
that I met one time.
That we imprisoned, and he said something nice to me, probably trying to get out of prison.
Yeah. Like, it's so crazy. They're just like, let's put a meet cute in there. Like a rom-com.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the scene where like people bump into each other in the park and like a lady drops her oranges. It's like, oh, let me help you. Hello. Where they both grab an orange. That's what it was.
Yes.
Like,
The bullshit scene.
it's a bunch of fucking producers in a Hollywood meeting room, like fucking railing coke, and like the hookers are about to come, so they gotta wrap this meeting up.
When you mentioned the chat, that's more what I was thinking of. It was just like
But that's the same
people
thing.
who like have these habits they need to sustain.
I'm saying about the similarities between ChatGPT is because ChatGPT would give you baseline, shallow things like that.
And then you have the people that have the cocaine habits filling in the blanks. That
It's the same thing. They would literally shit out the same script.
Yeah.
Like it's based off data. What do people like? You know,
Mhm.
what are the Marvel movies doing? They sell fucking tons. What do some of that?
It's our fault too,
I mean, a little bit.
as the viewer. Yeah,
It's Warner Bros.
we pay money for that shit.
Yeah,
People pay money for that shit, so they do it.
yeah,
And they don't care if it's a good story anymore.
yeah. It's like, yeah, we see it a lot. Star Wars, Marvel, every franchise that could be a franchise. It's like, just milk it out. Keep the money coming.
And that's why people have to stop paying for things that they don't care for. Like,
Yes, preach.
I enjoyed The Hobbit. I really did. But, you know, I also didn't obsess over it.
Are you saying I did?
No. No, what I'm saying was I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but like even like when that first off, I didn't see any of them in theaters. That's a start. I didn't see Lord of the Rings when I was a kid, and then I saw the first one. I had to see the next two. Bang bang, all three of them, right? Saw The Hobbit. I liked it. Then the second one, The Desolation of Smaug, was out for like a couple, like the third one was coming out soon, and I was like, "Oh, I should watch the second one." And bro, I stopped paying attention partway through. Especially, I heard he's supposed to be part of the bear guy. Is he actually in the book
Yes.
and the original
Pretty
story?
sure. Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know what it was about the way they executed that in the movie. I didn't care
Yeah.
at all.
You don't care
And-
about any of these people.
No.
Well, one of the reasons why, too, is because you see them pull off invincible feats.
Yeah.
The mountains, there's rocks falling and shit and fucking giant explosions.
Should have been a 90% death rate right there.
Yes.
Bilbo and Thorin should have been the only survivors.
Yeah. Like people would have lost limbs and
yeah.
like,
Folks would have died.
yeah. And in the
Or been
Goblin,
unalived. What am I supposed to say?
you can't say the other one.
Okay.
We're not doing this. In the Goblin Den, when they leave and they just fall down stories on a wooden bridge that was weak enough to fall, but not weak enough to get destroyed during, 40 flights of stairs or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're just invincible. They're just little tiny gods. Little tiny ambiguous gods. So every time there's tension after you see them pull off one of these feats, I don't give a fuck. They're gonna be fine. I
will
just watched
say-
him drop 700 feet. He's fine.
Yeah.
It's an orc. He drops 700 feet. Gravity doesn't give a like.
Yeah. Gravity.
You
no
break
fucks
the
are given.
rules of the universe.
Ooh, you want to know a bad shot? A bad CG shot? That
I still haven't gotten to CG.
I have one thing that when you're talking about like, I just did. It was jumping the shark. Legolas. He's fighting that one orc, and like something gets destroyed from underneath them, and he literally runs up the falling pieces of the thing.
Yeah.
I know they're just being like, "Oh yeah, he's a nimble elf. He can just do whatever," and it's just.
Didn't you
looked
learn
bad.
from the shield in Lord of the Rings where he surfs down the thing? I think that's ambiguous, or like
the shield?
he surfs down a flight of stairs on a shield,
Yeah.
and pretty much everybody you talk to about that scene is just like, it's a little much.
Yeah.
And they're like, how about that times 10?
Yeah.
He can walk on pebbles.
How about he jumps on pebbles? Yeah. He can use them. He can jump on falling pebbles.
If nobody's called him the Pebble Walker, he can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, why would that not be like? There'd be books written about him doing that once. Like,
Yeah, like the whole universe would be riddled with stories of
Holy
Legolas
shit.
the Pebble Jumper.
Yeah, he can break gravity. Whoa.
That's a big part of what it
Lord
was.
of the Rings, they break you down in the Shire. You know, you get grounded. We talked about that. In they do that a little bit in the first movie too. But then you see that
I think
just
that was why I liked
normal
the first
dudes.
movie, because that was like the only similarity was it's
Yeah.
like back to the Shire, Bilbo now, and oh, he wasn't the adventurer we always thought he was. You know, there was a good element of that in the beginning. It felt really good in the beginning.
Yeah, let me finish my point.
Yeah, okay.
I was in the middle of a sentence.
Go ahead.
So like you understand that these are just normal people. Bilbo's a normal guy. They sell it well in the first movie.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden he's not. And then you don't give a shit about anybody else. We talked about in the Lord of the Rings episode. I want to know what somebody's doing while the Battle of Helm's Deep is happening. Like if I zoomed over somewhere, I think something would be happening. I don't think that this is even a real world because Bilbo's an average dude and
Mhm.
he's fucking invincible. He can fight goblins and trolls and fucking, jerk off a dragon and
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. So any baker, any guy who likes muffins and smoking weed is just an invincible thing. So why do I give a shit about any of it? I don't care. Like, why not have that Sauron guy come? These guys are
He did.
they're fucking invincible.
And does that happen in the book?
No.
Exactly.
Fan service.
Exactly.
Remember him? Do you remember him? Did you forget?
Do you remember that guy from the other movies?
See what we did there? Kind of brought it together.
Didn't like that
They
either.
think you're stupid.
Yeah.
They think you're stupid. They don't think you're capable of grasping complex story. They got to spoon feed you a little bit. Remember him? We got Legolas too. Does that make you feel better? Do you want to watch it? Just tell the story. Lord of the Rings told the story. They didn't there was no fan service even in the Return of the King. They could have. They could have had fan service. Brought a bit back. No, we're telling the fucking story. That's what we're here to do. They don't do that. They think you're dumb.
I think they pretty much relied entirely on humor with those movies.
Like, it's so shallow. Desolation of Smog. I hate that movie. I'm not exaggerating. I hate it.
Yeah. I the second and third one, I don't even, I barely know that much about. I will say one of the funnier things about the third one was, the whole thing's a bit because I guess he didn't get the dragon sickness, the greed or whatever in the book, but in the movie when he does, after they get into the mountain, Thorin, in each scene, he's just getting steadily more blinged out, like to the point where he's just covered in this stuff. And it
just makes him angry and gayer.
Well, and I don't see again. That was the part I was focused on was the bling, and that part was just making me laugh rather than I wasn't concerned for him, which is I think the goal, right? They want you to be like, this guy, but I don't know.
They would have sold that better if they didn't fucking have to spoon feed you. They think you're fucking retarded. Okay, they think you're an idiot.
Explain yourself though. You just keep saying that, but
okay, how do you sell that? That sequence of scenes.
I thought that was a terrible arc. I wouldn't sell it.
But
it never made sense.
But how
to me.
do you sell it? You don't tell them. How many times are we told Thorin's not acting right? I'm really worried about Thorin.
Uh-huh.
Thorin he's sick. Thorin, he's different.
They spent like that whole movie talking about it.
Yeah, I'm just really worried about him. Don't say that at all. Just show him.
Well, they had to because otherwise he just seems like a greedy bad guy.
No,
which is exactly what it was.
Because he was likable, like kind of
up till he got his money.
Yeah, and so then you watch it slowly, like corrupt him. It could be a story about greed actually corrupting you, kind of like the source material. But instead, they don't think you're gonna understand that, so they're like, "He's sick. He's greedy. It's making him crazy."
I didn't understand it, even the way they did it.
But that's what I'm saying is like they could have just in the way that they composed the music around it, had it like unsettling shots where he's like talking to himself. And then they just go like, hmm. And then move on. And then every once in a while it's another thing where it's just like the dwarves being their dwarfs and like stuff, and you pan over to Thorin and he's like, "Hmm." Like like acting fucking weird, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And then you're like, ooh, something's not right. And then I don't need to be told. Like he's not acting consistent, acting out of character. Hmm. Something must be wrong. I don't think that's a big leap for even a 7-year-old to take. Like,
Yeah. Again, I personally thought that was such a bad idea that I wouldn't have even. If you're asking me how I would have done it, I would not have done that. Especially if I had, because I would have been looking at the book and the source material, like you said. And if that's not in there, I'm not, and I'm not, what's it called? Like you were saying earlier, a purist where it has to be. But that idea was so bad that especially if it wasn't in there already, that's not coming out in my mind.
the thing is, though, is that they had 9 hours to fill with the shortest book.
They didn't though, right? Isn't that kind of a part of the point you're making?
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
have to do this.
They didn't need to fill
Why'd
that
you
time.
do this?
Yeah.
So they like the budget is. We can talk about CGI now. The budget is stretched so thin because one, they didn't have years and years of preparation. They didn't have artisans on board handcrafting weapons. Almost everything is CGI, and CGI was not at the best place at that point, and it was still expensive. It was a specialty thing. So they just blew all their budget instead of getting practical effects made, weapons, armor, makeup, make all the orcs CGI. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be faster.
Mhm.
And the product suffers because of
Is
it.
it cheaper though? Everything I've heard about it is like it costs like tens of thousands of dollars to do some of the simplest shit.
It's a time thing. What is your time worth?
Yeah.
They can get it done in a week. It's going to cost some money, but like then we don't have to wait for some guy in Finland
Right.
to forge it.
In New Zealand.
Yeah, like yeah, it's a time restraint thing. They just rushed it out.
Okay.
They're like, keep it going, and 9 hours of content, and this and that. It's like,
Because that was always my problem. It's like this looks worse and it costed you more money. You know?
I think there's a cut of the Lord of the like of the Hobbit that is fire. I think there would be. You cut everything out that isn't in the story in the 3 movies. You have a good 4 hour, 3.5 hour Snyder cut type like
Like one film.
one film. Tight. I mean, it wouldn't make up for how incompetent Smaug is, but they snoked him, dude.
They snoked him.
They snoked him. They built him up. He's scary. He's creepy. Oh my God. Look at that guy. He's scary. He's creepy.
He gives
And
like
then-
a monologue.
And he's like, I'm going to fucking destroy everything. And God, I'm scary. And then he dies fucking in 90 seconds. They just zoop.
So how does it go? How does his thing go in the book?
His confrontation with the humans doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
No.
How does he get beaten?
Don't remember. I don't think he does.
Does he like leave?
I think he just fucks off, or like they kind of like go over it. You know, it's not very detailed. It's kind of a children's story. Like
Yeah.
it's not super detailed. I don't remember. It was kind of forgettable.
Well, maybe that's why they changed it.
No, they changed it to pad time. Like,
Yeah, but it didn't take up that much time.
right, which is the nonsensical part.
I almost think they should, if they were going to do it that way, they should have just killed him in the second movie.
They capped him at the second. You're like, whoa, they're building it up. Shit, if they stick this landing, this could be good. And then they kill him within the first 10 minutes of the third movie.
Was anyone surprised by that? Because I remember when I watched the second movie, I was actually really irritated with the ending. When he just flies off towards the city and it's like, that's the end.
I mean, that can work sometimes where it's like,
Sure,
build
but
the
then,
hype and then like ground things again and like incrementally bring it back up.
what they should have
Watch
done is
him
not
fucking-
have him die at that city.
Yeah.
burn it to the ground, and then fly off.
Why? If we would have saw 100 people try to kill him, and him just being like, no, 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 and then like just eat their kids, and like,
Well, remember kids movie.
that one's rated R for some reason.
Well, then I want my throat slice.
They never said fuck. Never say fuck.
And they really rated it R, huh?
I'm almost positive on that. I remember it being shocking. The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah, so it is rated R. Huh.
Yeah, huh.
That's really weird.
It's a children's movie.
It
It's
doesn't
fun. We
say
had
why
musicals.
under there either, though, like for language.
Violence. But they cut all the violent scenes out of
They
that.
cut all the violence out. That was another thing. Why? They filled it. They did all this shit to fill up 3 movies, and then there's still extended versions.
That's the problem, is that
It's money.
what are you filling? They filled it with the wrong
They know
things.
you're gonna pay for it, so they did it. So they're
Bro,
like, let's make extended versions.
I want an hour of armies in the Battle of... The whole Battle of the Five Armies could have been Smaug, them trying to deal with him, and the army. Like, violence, depravity, murder.
Yeah, the whole second half of the movie could have just been action.
Alfred. We get Alfred scenes, dude.
Oh,
Do you know
yeah.
how much fucking... Do you know
That was the biggest mistake in all of the fucking movies. Was
Yes.
him. Yeah.
Do you know how much screen time Alfred has? More than Bilbo in the second and third movie.
No way.
But-
So in the third movie,
You see more of Alfred than you do Bilbo. I don't know that to be true, but like it
I could
felt
believe
that
it.
way.
Yeah.
Like
I could believe it.
I don't know if that's like actually
You're
accurately
gonna get
true.
fact checked on it, but I not by me, but
No, by TikTok for sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like like to the consumer, to the watcher, it feels like Alfred was more of a main character
Dude, that was really
than
stupid.
the Hobbit.
It was so stupid.
What was he there for? Levity? We already have 13 slapstickers.
Yeah.
What the fuck do we need another one
Yeah.
for? We wasted so much time
Why?
on the King's Arc and Alfred when we could have told dwarves, the fucking people in the story, or had Martin Freeman be great more.
Yeah.
What's he doing when he's hanging out with the dwarves? They show a little bit of
I
it.
don't know. From the sound of what you're telling me about the book and everything, the third movie didn't need to happen at all.
Yeah,
Like
all fluff.
the
dude.
beginning of it when they beat the dragon, that would have been the end of the second movie, and that's it.
Gandalf and all the Sauron arc,
Uh-huh.
none of it happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
None of it happens.
For sure.
They just wanted to tie it in because they think you're stupid and you don't remember. Oh, they'll really love it when we bring in... It's like the Star Wars where they brought back the Emperor. They think you're dumb. You can't possibly handle another character
Somehow Palpatine returns.
somehow. Just a fucking trilogy of somehows.
It's a huge eye roll right before he does that too.
Like,
That was not acting.
yeah. There was just so
Somehow
many...
Sauron's in this movie.
Somehow. And somehow, one of the dwarfs, I don't even remember his name. I feel bad. I don't remember the dwarf's name. The one who gets shot with the arrow.
That one, I actually don't know.
That's
he's
a
he's
Morgoth.
either Keely or Feely.
That's a Morgoth metal arrow. Does that sound familiar? Because they wanted to give you that fan
yeah.
lore, but they don't even tell you what it is. Because he shouldn't have had that. The orc, just a regular orc, shot that. That's the one that the chief Nazgul
Yeah.
had. It's a relic of the highest, like...
And some orc just shot him.
Yeah,
with it.
and then like some guy bought it at Walmart, I guess.
yeah,
like,
yeah. His local forge guy made a few.
I guess like the Nazgul chieftain just uses like a 22 rifle, I suppose. Like, because magic arrows are just like demonic.
They're cheap.
Demonic possessed magical arrows are just something they have a lot of.
Yeah.
Why? Why'd you do that? Who did
Because
that?
they had to add suspense, of course. People like it when one of the characters is about to die.
Just have it make sense consistently.
Yeah.
Shoot him with a regular arrow. That fucking sucks.
In the gut, yeah.
That hurts. You don't need special herbs and shit. He's just messed up.
Yeah.
In fact, they could have leaned in on that. In fact, he's not an invincible little god man. It hurts when he gets shot. Ouchie.
No, but it's again, you come back to like he got shot in the leg and you're like, oh no, he got hit and he falls, right? But then once he winds up, once the arrow pops off and he jumps in that barrel and they're off, that should really have been the end of it. And then he has a limp for like the rest of the movie.
Has a limp.
Yeah.
Sold it. I believe it.
But
like,
you're right. It felt like that particular thing was just too prevalent.
Have the guy like leaning on his axe as a cane.
Yeah.
Sold it.
But no, he had to almost die later.
Yeah, and make a subplot so the love interest could show up again. And we're going to try to... They're just double downing on bad decisions. Like...
Yeah.
Like, they made a Venn diagram of every fucking movie trope they want to fit into this thing. And they're like, oh, well, if he just gets shot with a regular arrow, then we don't have any reason for the elf to come. And we already said we were going to do the love plot thing, so... how about it's like one of those things that the Nazgul had? Huh?
That's easy.
I don't care. Just fucking put it in there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not Peter Jackson's fault either.
Is it?
It's 100% studio meddling. I think if he had the appropriate amount of time, because they drove the original director who was supposed to do it, one of my personal favorites, Guillermo del Toro, was supposed to do The Hobbit, but it was supposed to be a 2-picture deal. And they're like, we want a trilogy. And he's like, you can't do that, guys. Like, the Dune movie was broken up, 1 book, 2 movies. I don't think there was a lot of fluff at all. Like, I think it worked really well. You could have broke this book up into 2 movies.
I will say, I don't know about defending The Hobbit in this aspect, but like trying to make 1 book into 1 movie, never good.
Could be rough, yeah.
Rarely good. It worked with The Lord of the Rings, but I bet you there were book fans that were like a little disappointed that there wasn't more.
And it was a struggle for them to figure out what's essential. What is essential to tell the story?
Yeah.
These creators had the opposite problem.
Yeah.
Let's
make up some story.
Yeah, okay, so we got the essentials, but
it's not long enough.
We still need another 7 hours of content.
Yeah. They should have just done it as a mini series.
Yeah.
So they should be doing this shit as...
No, they don't even need that. Like, it could have been a great 2-picture film. Even a 1-picture film.
Or a 6-episode miniseries.
If Del Toro did it, too, there would have been a lot more practical effects. But, like, yeah, they drove the guy mad. He worked on it for, like, a year or 2. And they basically are like, we want a love interest. We want this and that. And he's like, what the fuck do you want from me? I thought I was making The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'm not making The Hobbit anymore, so I'm dipping. And then they're like, Petey, hey, Petey, you know you did such a good job. Everybody loves you. You're going to crush it. Don't worry about it. My niece, she wants to get into acting, so could we, like, put her in the film? She got 17 volleyball teammates, too. Could we put them in the film? Do we have, like, a locations for any of this? No, you're going to be in Hollywood. It's hot. But we got really big green screens.
Really, really big green screens.
Yeah. We got we got a really good deal on Temu for a bunch of
Temu
or on AliExpress on a bunch of green tape. We figured to just kind of hit everything with that, and then we'll get it in post. They'll figure it out. So you ready? Like, when are we shooting? I mean, we could start today if you wanted to.
He probably was just like, just make sure there's enough zeros on my paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
he probably didn't really care.
I don't think I am going to defend him.
No,
I don't think he was giving...
I mean, when it came to whatever because he could have walked away from it too.
Yeah.
Been like, you're not making The Hobbit.
As soon as they released it out, though, he couldn't deal with the disappointment if he got off the project. Like, because it's so...
Like, you mean it's because they were going to go and get somebody else no matter what?
Well, like, the headline, Peter Jackson quits the Hobbit series, would have crushed fans. Crushed them.
I mean, it might have also kept it from being made,
Yeah.
which sounds like he was, in your opinion, would have been the better move.
But I can justify why he went through with it. He's like, I'm going to try my best, you know?
And I mean, again, especially that first one,
I
felt it.
I also think he had like 10 guns pointed to him. Like, I feel like, you know, the ending series, the ending season in Breaking Bad where they have Jesse chained up making the meth.
Yeah, that's what it was. Peter Jackson's just chained up making Hobbit movies.
Yeah. And action.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And action.
Yeah, right? Say it. Action.
Do film now.
I think he was just like, this will be a big payday. And like you said, I'll try to make it work. And I know this is supposed to be a shit on it session, but really the first movie, I mean, you know, I sat and watched it with my brother, which is how I watched the original Lord of the Rings.
I think the first movie's at 7.
Yeah. Let me put it like this. That was how you know what? I'll almost equate it with the new Star Wars trilogy. Force Awakens. I was like, dude, I'm glad to be back in Star Wars. I'm enjoying this fucking movie. Like, again, not 10 out of 10, but it was, I was happy. I was like, you know, it was up. Next movie, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then by the third movie, I was like, what have you done?
As a writer, you know, easy to start a story, hard to pay it off. Hard to stick the landing, hard to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's easy to get those principles out there, but staying consistent to them is difficult. Like, especially when you want to finish, like, fill so much screen time. I only have like a category and a half more of gripe. One being the music. The music didn't sell me. It didn't wow me.
You mean aside from the tracks that were in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, the fan service that they're like, yeah, let's put in. When Thorin is fighting Azog, we bring back a classic track from the
I didn't
trilogy.
even notice that.
Yeah, they bring back the Nazgul song. The song about battling demons. There's lyrics to that song. They don't make any sense in the context of what was happening in The Hobbit at all.
Yeah.
It's a very specific song about like battling ghostly specters and like, you know, the epicness of that. It's like, or we'll just put it in with the fight scene.
With the fight versus a big blue orc.
Yeah.
Which I guess he's white, but he always looked blue to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the music just didn't wow me. It doesn't feel iconic. I don't remember any of the original scores. They don't live in my head.
Like I said, I was underwhelmed by the following two. Probably not like disappointed because I didn't care about it that much, but I was not really sucked into either one of the second two movies. And I bet you the music was a big part of it.
Yeah. And you don't think about it until you watch this stuff critically. Because that's the opinion I had before too. It's just like, yeah, it didn't grip me. But like I watched the thing to like watched it with the same like I watched Lord of the Rings recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it critically and like fucking got caffeined up, took notes and stuff. Like and really like watched, you know, scene by scene. But like with this movie, it's just I didn't notice how many things they thought we wouldn't notice. Like they wanted you to not notice how like unput together it was. So the music, I don't know if Howard Shore's deal just got, you know, maybe he gets more money now or something, but
could be. I mean, you know, don't forget a lot of it has to do with money, man. It's
yeah.
Like, what are people going to pay for? Well, it's already got it's going to look like Lord of the Rings, so we got that.
The thing is, though, is that they could have gotten the money. Where did the money go? They spent a bunch of money on these films. Like, where did it go? Like,
they got it back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. But they rushed everything.
That's all that mattered to them.
It was time more than anything. With Lord of the Rings, it was made
I suppose it could have been because of the one guy walking away from it.
Yeah.
And then being pressed for time after that.
Yeah, they just wanted so much script rewrites.
But again, I feel like time always comes down to money, and it's just like, why can't it wait longer? Why can't you give Peter Jackson the time that he needs to make this a good.
Push it back.
Yeah.
Like, don't be greedy.
They've been doing a lot of that lately with
Yeah.
shit like a TV show. A new season from a TV show often takes like 2 years to make now. And it used to be like, oh, we put out, a season at the beginning of the year, and then we start the next season at the end of the year.
Yeah. You can't work like that. I mean, the people the Lord of the Rings did, they basically shot for 2 or 3 years straight and did like full-time jobs, and
I
then
remember
some.
that I watched like a Return of the King, like behind the scenes but it was like kind of about all 3 movies, and they even said that it was the better part of a full decade to film those movies, like you said, it took about 3 years per movie.
Yeah.
And how long did it take to do The Hobbit?
I'm not actually sure, but I don't think that long. I mean, I know for sure they did not have like 2 or 3 years to prep before they even started filming.
And you can't count the time from before Peter Jackson. You have to go from when Peter Jackson took over.
Yeah, they threw out all of Del Toro's work.
So you can't count that as like time that they had worked on it. Like all that gets scrapped. You're starting from scratch with Peter Jackson.
Yeah, and they had a whole bunch of notes ready for
And
him.
it probably came out not too long after he took over. It was probably like a year and a half, I bet.
I bet they filmed within a year.
Yeah. That's how it kind of feels. Especially, see, when I sat down all those years ago and watched the first one, again, all that, there's this nostalgic, like back to be back in the world kind of thing. But really looking back on, especially when you compare it to Lord of the Rings, it's lacking. And you can feel like so many of the things, like you said, it's like, oh, this probably took less time to do. You can see the CG in just like the biggest part that bothers me is there's a lot of scenes where they're running through these fields in Lord of the Rings, right? It's all in New Zealand, and it looks good. Even with Gimli there, by the way, who is a dwarf. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is because in The Hobbit, they're running through what I think are some of the same fields. And
there's very few practical.
It's like it looks like it's the same place, but it just doesn't look right.
All the horse riding, all the field stuff, all CG,
all fake, dude.
Yeah,
and it's you can see it.
Yeah,
and that was taking me out of it a little bit.
It's insane. They could have went back. Why could they have not gone back? It's been 10 years.
Time and money.
Yeah, but they had the money. It was time. They wanted to rush that shit out.
Well, you make more money the sooner, on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we don't have to bring actors there,
Mm-hmm. That takes time.
We'll
and
just
money.
Send a drone over there, get some footage, and then we'll just put it in the background.
We'll have them all running the green screen field and fill it all in later.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, it'll look great. Don't worry about it. But I think I'd like to sum up by saying that one, I just feel like the franchise would be better if this did not exist. Because I worry that Lord of the Rings people that are too young, I'm worried that Gen Z and the next generation after this are gonna look at or don't watch the Lord of the Rings because they grow up in kind of the era of the Hobbit. This is their first exposure to the franchise. I think it hurts the overall Middle Earth and the story, like the absolutely beautiful movies we had as kids.
And whereas I definitely agree somewhat, I don't think it was very good in that aspect. I'm not sure that it needs to be removed. I think it can be worked with. Honestly, we haven't even gotten into it. I doubt we ever will because I haven't seen it. But from everything I've heard, Rings of Power.
I want to watch that again with a critical eye.
Maybe I'll watch it with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I still haven't seen it. Like, I don't know it. And see, everything I've heard about that, it sounds like, okay, The Hobbit can be worked with. Sounds like Rings of Power is the one that a lot of people are like, the whole Middle Earth would be better off without this.
I think people are just tired of it. It's the same type of thing. Throw in the thing that people want. Do the stuff that people Bring
I
back the character that we know.
My
And
biggest thing, and I know this is like most people tell me I'm stupid for this, and I know this is not a Rings of Power episode, but the fact that there are characters which you probably didn't need to have, you probably didn't need to do this era or whatever. There are characters from Lord of the Rings in that, and I've just seen some scenes, some clips and stuff, and it's like you do not remind me of that character that you were supposed to be. I know it's 3,000 years. You're an elf. You're a different kind of person, but I don't know. You just aren't reminding me of him.
yeah,
And fan service.
yeah, that's what it boils down to is fan service.
But maybe that's what that whole show was.
And it's not,
We'll watch it.
yeah.
So that we're not.
But your point sticks with this too, with The Hobbit. It's fan service. It's cheap. It's, don't think about it too much. You're going to love being there again. Don't you love it? Didn't you love it before? Do you still love it?
I was still a young adult. I was a kid when Lord of the Rings came out. Young adult when The Hobbit came out. Rings of Power is not that old. I'll have a little bit less of a, oh, I'm just happy to be back into this. Because that really, I remember that such different feelings between Hobbits 1 and Hobbit 2. Hobbit 1, The Unexpected Journey, I loved it, dude. I really did. Like, again, there's mostly nostalgia. I think I know why. But then the second one, I was trying to be excited about it. I was just like, this is not.
It's nothing.
It's not the same.
Like, I didn't even talk about the fact that Bilbo completes his character arc entirely in the first movie.
Like, character arc meaning?
Scared. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
Done. Movie's done.
It's right after his.
What's he doing for the rest of the 2 movies? The 3 movies?
Yeah.
Well, what's he there for? The Hobbit? The Hobbit? The guy that it's about? Him?
He's there so he can be a burglar. Do they call him that in the book?
Yeah.
That's good at least.
But he should have been more hesitant throughout the whole thing.
He should have been more relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have spent almost a movie in the Goblin Den.
That felt short.
You honestly...
Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. That is a scene when he goes into the Goblin Den and he gets the ring in there. That feels like it's supposed to be one of the bigger scenes of The Hobbit and all, and that felt like it was skated over mighty quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's brief in the book, but like, that's the type of thing you spend the extra time on.
Yeah.
Sell those...
My sentiments exactly. Like
those fundamental scenes.
Even if it's not, as like much longer than whatever they put, make it the full scene.
Yeah.
Spend the time on that, because that...
And the time we did get there is just them being immortal gods and like, oh, lucky stuff's happening. Oh, this falls over there. Now we can travel here. And then they fell because they don't have good luck. And like, have real tension. I want to feel like these guys might fucking die.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that was the weirdest thing, because I think more main characters died by the end of The Hobbit. But it didn't, up until that time, it didn't really feel like anyone was in any danger.
Because, yeah, and so those deaths, you don't give a shit about. We just watched this guy get shot in the head 9 times, and the 10th one kills him. All right, I guess. Like,
huh?
I'm saying it's a metaphor.
You're talking about Thorin and
all of them.
It's the 3. It's only 3.
No, I'm saying like every single dwarf, they just feel like they can do anything.
Yeah.
And then so when any of them dies, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
right. It's
if you want to make them show struggle throughout the entire films, like show them get beat down more and more and more. They had an R rating. What the fuck?
It's fair that like they weren't. They're steamrolling over every goblin and orc they come across, right up until the end when they're fighting their rival.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy who's not supposed to be in the movie at all.
And so it's not consistent. Either they're little tiny balls of immortality or they're feeble guys just trying to make it happen. They're struggling. It's really hard. This journey is a lot.
It's supposed to be.
No. Singy, songy, dancey, dancey, flappy, duppy, doo.
Yeah, it's like that throughout.
Oh, whoops. I died.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Musical numbers.
It is. It's a lot of humor. It's all like
Like
jokes.
you're not it blows my mind that there's an R rating. Blows my fucking mind, dude. Why did I not see tits then? Why did I not see blood? Why did I not hear a fuck?
Yeah.
What was that for? What was the R rating for?
I can
So
pass on-
Alfred could put sacks of gold and go goo goo goo.
Yeah. I would say I could give a fuck about language or tits, but like if you're gonna give an R rating, make that a fucking make the Battle of the Five Armies look like a battle.
Yeah. I want to see
Yeah.
motherfuckers die.
Yeah, I want to
Like-
see some vicious fighting.
I was listening to the sound engineering during these fights, and then they go in and they go coop pump, like instead of like
Really?
like the sound engineering doesn't sell that it's a violent endeavor. It's just like collision, boop boop doom doom dum 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 dum, like epic default music, game ah.
Yeah.
Where it could have been like if it's an R rated, I want to feel like people are getting messed up. Like,
Well, and it's just a lot of cartoon whacks across the head and like knockover too.
yeah, dong,
Like
like a Looney Tunes.
that scene when they're leaving the goblin in the first movie, even, and when they're leaving the goblin or they're like fighting their way, it's like they're running and they're just discarding anything that comes in their path. There's not a fight that happens. It's just like oh. Like that. That's when you're talking about these things. That's the scene that keeps popping into my head, is when they're just cartoonishly knocking like running and just like ha 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 ha. It's like there's not a one of them that's actually able to stop you guys.
Can you name the five armies participating in the battle?
I've tried to do this before. Obviously, we have Dwarven and Elven.
Yep.
Does the human army count?
Yes.
Then I think there were 2 orc armies, right?
Yeah,
One from
that's one
Gundabar
interpretation.
And one, yeah. But is there...
There's no solid...
Because also that human army is like not really an army. That's more like a 200-man militia.
Yeah.
So battle of the 4.5 armies.
Yeah, and really 4, because like why don't the orcs count as 1?
Yeah.
Like they still listen
They're on the same team.
and they listen to the same guy.
Yeah.
But
they're all following the same rules or same orders.
Like how come the elven army's not 7 armies then?
Right.
There's more.
How many soldiers constitutes an army?
Yeah, right? Like it's just silly. They hand wave that a lot in the book. They're just
It should have been called Battle of the 76 Militias.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would have sold the fact that J.R.R. Tolkien thought that war was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, he did. He thought it was dumb. Why do we do this still?
Yeah.
And like that sells the point of greed. It's like everybody, like at the end of the book, like everybody kind of reflects on how dumb that was. Like, why did we all get so worked up about nothing?
A bunch of
We could have worked
gold.
together and been cool and this and that. And they kind of like hand waved that it was like that was a dark time, but we're better now. Like, and so you don't get any of that arc. You don't get that. It's just like, yeah, just underserved. Battle of the Five Armies had very little fighting. They cut the coolest scenes out of it.
They did.
You got
That scene, I will say, like as we're getting close to the end here, the scene that I thought was the coolest fucking thing, and I didn't realize I was watching the extended one, you know? I kind of did, but there's not that much that in the extended
It's
third
14
one.
minutes.
Yeah. And so I didn't really realize it until it came to the battle and the elves go to shoot the dwarves. I'm like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then they fire, and then the dwarves have those mechanisms, those spinny things. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it wasn't even in the original movie.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's the only cool thing that like happened in all 3 movies.
I watched the extended like scenes just to see what was extended.
What you missed, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the coolest shit in the entire movie.
Why was this not in the movie? You could have
Yeah.
cut out all that Alfred shit.
Alfred. And in the extended, Alfred dies. You actually get the payoff.
Really?
Yeah. Gandalf uses magic, comes and like fights a big troll, and
yeah.
Alfred dies because of it.
That's great. And that's not in the movie.
Not in the movie. They didn't think that was crucial. You're gonna put in 17 minutes of Alfred and then not show him actually
not give us the payoff.
yeah, get the comeuppance that he deserves.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? Like
He was the biggest mistake of those movies.
all the extended scenes are only 14 minutes. You can't tell me that you couldn't have added 14 minutes to the runtime of your already long R-rated movie.
Yeah.
What, do you think children wouldn't want to sit through it? It's R fucking rated.
Yeah.
Like, it's unexcusable, man. Like, it's so stupid.
Every time you bring up Alfred, it's like I can't make any defense for these movies. He's not in the first one. Maybe that's a big part of it too. Because that's the one that, like you said, it's a 7. I might even give it an 8. I don't know. But a 7 I think sounds safe. But as soon as you brought him up, it's like, God, that was a disaster.
7, Unexpected Journey.
4. Desolation of Smaug gets a 4.
4.
I was going to give it a 5, but I really don't like how it ended.
That's where I'm feeling too. Battle of the Five Armies. 4 or 5.
Give me just a second.
Doesn't start good, doesn't wrap up good. I don't like the middle bits. It feels like a 4.
I'm just trying to think, like, what was really great.
If 5 is average.
Bro, I'm trying to decide if I'm even giving it a 4 here.
yeah. If 5 is average, was it a below or above average film?
I'm deciding
Definitely
between
not
3 and
above.
4. I guess I can give it a 4. That had the most Alfred, the most stupid shit, and
the only thing
they cut out the coolest scenes.
The only thing that keeps them even at 4s is the acting.
Yeah,
I haven't said anything positive. The acting's great.
Sure.
They're doing the best they can with that shit god awful script that they've been given.
I'll give it a 4, just because of the acting.
If the acting was bad, oh man, we'd be in trouble.
I'll tell you what.
We'd be in trouble.
Yeah, had they changed even just Gandalf or Bilbo, had they done anything wrong with that's what made the beginning of the first one so good, was also like Ian McKellen and Martin Freeman. I'm forgetting his name. They had great on-screen chemistry. Yeah,
they're great. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't just get like a bum from San Francisco to play Gandalf just to save more money.
That was probably one of the only places they put the money, was like, we need him back. That's what's going to... I honestly think they might have coasted on him.
The acting made it anything. It's not much.
I bet you they coasted on having Ian McKellen in those movies.
Let's see the budgets real quick before we end.
Okay.
Hobbit Trilogy budgets. Yeah, you're looking at like a roughly 150 a film, and then some more. Yeah, so the first film, 150 million compared to 94 million to make the first Lord of the Rings. So they had more money.
Different time, about a decade later.
But roughly about the same, I would say.
I was going to say, it was maybe still a little bit more.
Adjusted with inflation, they got like a 10% raise.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. They got more, just not as much more as it sounds like.
Look what they did with that money.
Yeah.
Very well spent money in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Like $94 million, not a lot of money.
I wonder if Lord of the Rings was made with the same, or with like less grace, the same we could give a fuck as The Hobbit. Would it have made, because it set such a standard too. You know what I mean? So like if it wasn't made as good.
The biggest difference is passion.
Yeah.
Not dollars. Passion. The people of the Lord of the Rings, they had artisans on salary. Like, people spent years of their lives making a piece of a tree.
Yeah.
Like, they spent time. Like, everything was handcrafted with love. None of that was handcrafted with love in The Hobbit.
Well, and it also, none of the fight scenes felt real in The Hobbit. Like, in Lord of the Rings, they're fighting.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like they might get hurt.
They did get hurt.
Yeah. Like,
A lot of people got hurt.
or in The Hobbit, they're immortal little fuckheads.
Well, and
gonna-
I mean,
They're
you
going to
know,
keep bean dipping each other and singing songs. Who cares what they fight?
I was just getting at like it looks regardless of what's actually happening, because if you pay attention to Lord of the Rings, Boromir is the only one in the Fellowship that isn't running around like a god. But like you said, it's how it feels just in the way it's like the fighting in Lord of the Rings. When I'm watching Aragorn fight that orc at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, bro, I'm on the edge of my seat. I feel like even though you know he's probably not going to die, you feel like, dude, this is a good fight. You know what I'm saying?
All the characters have struggle in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
But
Sam and Frodo
is there
limping. Sam is carrying him.
Yeah.
Like they're messed up just from walking.
Can you think of a single fight in The Hobbit where they're like really just fighting, like, you know, sword
it's all
fighting,
spectacle. It's
Yeah.
dancing.
It's and what happens at the end? Like they chase him up a tree. You know what I mean? Like there's not even a good fight.
The big Azog fight
In the Battle of the Five Armies was crap.
First off, Azog shouldn't have even been there. How is it even possible that he would circumstantially be in the same place and happen to know about any of this anyway? Like he chooses to fight with a giant block of cement to be cool for fucking what reason?
Yeah.
After he fights for 20 seconds and realizes this is not working, you think he would just double, triple down and be like, it's going to be fucking cool. Don't worry, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
no, this is going to be
if I
rad.
can hit him with this thing, fuck, it's going to be cool. Like, they'll tell stories about me. Do some defiling, man.
Yeah.
Do some defiling. Azog the Defiler, he's a fraud. I didn't see him defile once. Not once. I want some defiling. I want you to fucking... You had an R rating. You had an R rating. I want to see him pick up a human. Like, put his fucking hand inside of their sphincter and pull out their lower intestine. And then, like, wear it as a scarf. And then look at the camera. That's what a defiler would do.
I think realistically, all three of them would have had to be R rating for it to get anywhere near that. But
they had an R rating.
I am still with you on there's degrees of R rating. You don't go from happy dance. You know, you get what I'm saying, right? In order to go that far, like you have to have all three movies be that.
Yeah.
Like, so, but what I'm getting at, even if you want to give just the third one an R rating, give me something more. Give me, like I was saying, just have the nephew that got killed by Azog by being held up in front of everyone. They did like a lower abdomen stab, like slash that motherfucker's throat. Just change that scene a little bit and have him fucking bleed. The look in his eyes.
Just in the sound design, they could have sold it.
Yeah,
you know, it was
the way
just,
it sounds.
It was like
you basically don't hear
they
it.
stabbed a potato or an orange or something, and then they had the actor go, "Oh,
yeah." But yeah, it was bad.
I want to hear like slicing and ligaments and you know, like the stuff that makes you grossed out. Like sell it.
If you're going R rating, you might as well do something, especially because you're not, like you said, I don't care if you're doing tits or language or something. This is the Battle of the Five Armies.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that you need those things, but they had an R rating.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to have an R rating in one of these movies, you should put it towards the violence.
Why did we even have an R rating?
Yeah.
I really don't understand.
I don't think there's a valid reason for it.
Like, I really don't get it.
I've been wondering it this whole time ever since we looked it up. Like, why would you even give that movie an R rating?
I really don't understand. Like, and so
maybe it's because main characters died. I don't know.
I mean, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Boromir dies.
He does.
He dies pretty brutally too. Like it's not a
PG death.
Yeah.
It's
like
a PG-13.
It's the shit that scares kids.
Yeah.
Like that orc.
Especially that orc. Yeah.
Like, I'm terrified, you know?
And he actually, dude, remember when Aragorn's fighting him, he stabbed him in the leg, and the orc takes the fucking dagger out and licks it.
Yeah.
And throws it at him. Like, that in itself is more R-rated than anything from Battle of the Five Armies.
That's a little slice of defiling.
Yeah, yeah. That's a little slice of defiling right there.
Yeah. Not and they didn't even call that guy the Defiler.
Yeah.
Like I've said this off camera, but Vlad the Impaler, why'd they call him that? He had a pretty specific hobby.
Yeah, he had a hobby
like,
that he liked to practice.
Yeah. There's a reason they called him that. They didn't just call him Vlad the watch out for that guy. Like, he was Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
Because he impaled. Azog, Asscock.
Get to some defiling.
Yeah. Let me see it. Don't tell me he defiles. Show me.
Asslog.
Asscock.
Asscock. Yeah, I heard ass log
fraudulent.
whenever I first heard it. Asscock the fraudulent.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, guys, that I just yelled at the camera for.
They think you're stupid.
But it's mean that they even did this to us. They put us in this position. And if you agree with me, give us a like. Give us a subscribe.
Like and subscribe. We and again, we're not trying to be very clear, at least I'm not. I can't speak for Mike. We're not trying to shit on anyone who loves the Hobbits. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
They did enough. They did just enough, like I was saying about the first movie throughout this whole episode. They did just enough to pull you in, and then maybe you just kind of overlooked some things. Or you love the movies. You love it, and you can love it.
If you're nostalgic to it because you grew up with them, that's great. I just wish they made a better movie for you to be nostalgic for.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not your fault. Like, you're allowed to like them. But there are blatant things that make it problematic.
And there are some objectively good things. It's just also an objective evaluation of it, especially a comparison to Lord of the Rings. They come up a bit short, and that was our point.
Yeah, you're panning for gold nuggets in a dumpster or in a landfill.
It's a polished turd, but it's a turd nonetheless.
Yes. So we hope you enjoyed our rant here.
Stay tuned for our Rings of Power episode.
That's going to be a while because we got to get through.
And let's be honest, it's not a priority.
Yeah, we'll do it at some point.
We'll get there when it's cold out again, and we don't want to.
Yeah,
we aren't doing outside episodes and shit anymore.
If you're seeing this on TikTok regarding our Lord of the Rings content, make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe and all that.
Yes.
We really appreciate the love we've been getting, especially on the Lord of the Rings stuff. And hopefully you guys like some of this stuff, these spicy rants. And as always, we really appreciate you guys. We love you. Toodaloo.
Ta-ta.